Bernstein to the program. Sir, I'm glad to have you. Welcome to the show.
Great to be on the program with you.
Great, sir. Well, Josh, this is we're dealing with a lot of things that are coming out here as we deal with all of the news that keeps hitting. Now, obviously, we're 3 weeks into the Trump administration. We still have yet to confirm many of his nominees, including RFK Jr. But that's coming up here soon. I believe that he did secure finally the great Senator Susie Collins said that she's now going to be willing to be a yes vote on him. But all of these things, we just want Trump to be able to, as a president, should be able to get his people in to complete his agenda. And yet here we go with all of these great nominations. Not some of them I might not agree with, but like I said, he still deserves to have his go at it. So give us a little bit of insight into what you're seeing out there as we are here going forward with some more nominees that are yet to be confirmed and what you think is going to be happening further as we go after confirmations.
Well, first and foremost, I will say this, that all of these people that have been nominated to be in these different cabinet positions, each and every one of them has either been a whistleblower against the organization in which they are going to be running, or has litigated against them. And I can't tell you for anything what would be better than to have someone who has tried to change the agency from the outside in, now being in charge from the inside out, being able to actually go ahead and do that. With the remaining folks that are left, and again, there's quite a few, but the main ones that come to mind, I think you're looking at probably 50-50 votes with Vance as the tiebreaker on probably just about all of them. I do think they're all going to be confirmed. They're not going to be confirmed by wide margins, but then again, do you really want someone that's 99-0? Or would you rather want someone that is going to have some pushback from the left because they're going to be over the target? You know, you'd rather have the 52-48s, the 51-49s, the 50-50 plus Vance, rather than just a blowout. Because if it's a blowout, well, then chances are a lot of the people on the left or the establishment were supporting them as well. So I do feel as though we're going to get, right down to the nitty gritty. I think it's going to be very, very close, but it'll be in favor of confirmations for all of them.
Right. So in your opinion, just to touch on this real quick, obviously we got RFK come out. He creates a lot of controversy. This is a guy who is a former Democrat, still holds to a lot of those ideologies, even himself. I am a supporter of him being over the HHS secretary. I think that it's a fantastic pick for this. Do you think that he might be one of the tiebreakers? Could he possibly be one of those? Because of the people who have virtue signaled, even on the Republican side, virtue signaled to show that they don't really like Kennedy coming in there as this HHS secretary.
No, actually, I think he'll probably win probably one or two extra votes because he is, again, a former Democrat. He's a Kennedy, and I know they don't like him for those reasons. But I think that one of the crossover issues between the left and the right, I would assume, would be healthy food, healthy water supply, and things of that nature. So I think he's going to kind of win over sort of the crunchy crowd, if you will, the granola crowd, if you will. Because, look, he's got a very important job to do. And quite frankly, if he goes in there and cleans house the way he's supposed to and makes sure that we don't have vaccine mandates and then also goes after these vaccine companies and things like that, I want to see him get rid of the ability to run commercials for pharmaceutical companies on television. There's only two nations in the entire world, New Zealand and the United States of America, that allow these types of commercials on television and radio. That needs to end. Hopefully he's going to do that. But more importantly, he's going to get us off of the seed oils, the cottonseed oils, the soy, all these different things that they're poisoning us, literally killing us softly and slowly with this food supply. So we've got to go after that. We've got to make sure that we have healthy food supply. And I think that, he's going to bring in beef tallow and some of these other things to the fast food restaurants. And remember, as HHS secretary, he can just basically tell them, hey, this is what you're going to do. Otherwise, there's going to be fines and things like that if you don't do this, because we don't want to continue to poison the American people. So I think that he's going to be very consequential. As a matter of fact, he could be the most consequential Kennedy, of course, other than his uncle, or even Ted, he'll probably be even more consequential than Ted Kennedy when it's all said and done. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Maha, of course, merging with MAGA and making everything great again.
I completely agree with that. Now let's talk. Now, speaking of, going through and starting a wildfire and taking down some of these things that have long plagued us. How about DOGE? Now, DOGE, this was actually, it kind of surprises me in a way, but not. You have Elon Musk, who has successfully gutted Twitter and made it, better than it was. I think that it could come up more. Obviously, a lot of us are still dealing with and reeling from some of the problems that continue to suppress us on that. Remember, he did say freedom of speech, but not freedom of reach. However, he comes in here and then Donald Trump unleashes him in there with the DOGE team to start taking and looking into all of these things where they are revealing all of the disgusting overspending by many of these government officials, including the biggest one yet of U.S. aid that has made these leftists, these Marxists, into a great hysteria where they are at the point that they have turned against Elon Musk, who they used to like a lot before Twitter, however, because he was supportive of all of them. But here we are, where he's gutting things like this, revealing the things that they have done, including showing what just happened recently with FEMA, $59 million, sending these illegal aliens into luxury hotels that is actually owned by Palestinian Authority, as a matter of fact, which is very, very concerning in another light. But here we are with this thing like DOGE. They wanted to go into a hysteria because he's an unelected bureaucrat in their eyes, like these that they have created, but he's really not. He's actually somebody who's gutted with efficiency. What do you see here with DOGE? What are we looking at going forward?
I would say that DOGE is just getting started, okay? They are now in 14, that's right, 14 different agencies, Department of Education, there's too many to list, of course, USAID, they're in the EPA, they're in HHS, they're in CMS, they're in CDC, they're in a lot of different ones, 14 of them. And now President Trump has just given Elon Musk the authority to hire an additional 45 more members of the DOGE team. So this is just starting. I think the fraud and abuse and everything else that we're going to find is going to be astronomical in so many different areas. But, just today, there was a breaking story where we actually funded, USAID actually funded an Al-Qaeda terrorist at Colorado State University. I mean, what are we going to rename Colorado State University Al-Qaeda University? And they can what? They can do like bomb making classes and things like that. I mean, it's absolutely not just insane, but it's the antithesis of what we are all about. We are fighting these enemies, and yet now we're funding these enemies in our college campuses. So, I mean, it's unbelievable. I think that they're just getting started. I can't wait for them to get into even more and more. And let me say this about these judges out there that think that they're going to legislate from the bench. I hope that President Trump ignores every single one of their quote-unquote orders, okay? Because their orders are unconstitutional, number one. Number two, I agree with Vice President J.D. Vance, who has also said that President Trump should just ignore these judges. And quite frankly, if they try to come after him, then I would like to see them be arrested for trespassing on government property and possibly have a special counsel issued against them. And let's find out why these judges are not interested in transparency. Why aren't these judges wanting the federal government to be audited? Perhaps maybe they have some kickbacks that are being hidden in there. Maybe perhaps they have some type of unaccounted for payments. So I think these judges are barking up the wrong tree. And we, the people of America, are not going to sit back and tolerate it. So I think that Elon Musk has already said that he wants to make sure that a lot of these judges that are trying to fight back are going to be impeached. I think that's a great idea, although it takes a little bit longer. I'd rather see guerrilla warfare. I want to see people go in front of, legally, of course, their courthouses across the street where it's legal with bullhorns and everything else, to let these judges know that we are watching each and everything that they do, and we're not going to sit back and allow them to legislate from the bench any longer.
Right, because this has been something that's gone on for long enough. Every time that they see the policy that's done by anyone that they do not like, but even more so with Trump, they go straight to these district judges, these people that have been put in by some Republicans, but even more so by Obama-appointed judges, that these people are there. They have them at the ready with the fourth arm of the government called the lawfare government, that they want to sit there and legislate from the bench when they shouldn't be able to do that, and block all of the things that every American voted for Trump to do. And, going back on something here that I think that is really, really important about what you said about a terrorist group being funded by USA. That's another thing that I think that I'd like to segue into, because I want to talk about what Trump's doing there with the Gaza Strip. Now, many people that did vote for President Trump were anti-war. They're tired of all of the wars that's going on over there. They're tired of all of the things that, we have inserted ourselves into, especially many of them are against Israel aid, but just Ukraine aid and all of these things has happened. However, when you talk about people he's wanting to relocate, many of those there, to be into the Arab nations. Some of them said that they might take them, but you even have here with King Abdullah gets on here, and then he in Arabic puts on there that he's not going to do this stuff with Trump. He disagrees with what Trump wants to locate these people. Obviously, they don't want them there because that's what they use these people in order to get their way with the two-state solution. So tell us about the importance of what's going on here, especially because we've been funding all of this. But do you think that it's a good thing that Trump's doing, especially when he's talking about there might be some other actions that he pursues if they do not do these things outside of tariffs?
Well, that's what I was going to say. One word and one word only, and that is tariffs. Because if Egypt and Jordan and some of these other countries don't want to take these people, they're going to pay for it big time in tariffs. So trust me when I tell you this. If President Trump wants them to be put into these different countries, those people will take them. They're going to have to, because what they're planning on doing is rebuilding the area. Now, rebuilding the area doesn't necessarily mean putting hotels and casinos and turning it into a Riviera, but it does kind of take away from what it used to be, which was a terrorist compound, basically, right? The people were terrified. They had these people all around them. Terrorists were living among them. And we saw what happened. And now, of course, the entire area is basically rubble for all intents and purposes. So it does need to be rebuilt. But here's the thing. Why should we rebuild it? Why not have either another country rebuild it? Or why don't we take the extra money, especially the money that we are now finding in U.S. aid? I would like to do and make sure that these January 6ers get millions upon millions of dollars in restoration. I would like to take the USAID money and give it to the people in North Carolina who have been sitting there and suffering in the whole, cold, harsh winters in tents outside where their houses used to be. The people in California, again, they're third on my list. But I think that we need to take some of this money that we are finding, that this, fraud, abuse, and waste, and give it to people that actually can use it and use it for good purposes. And I would, number one, put it into a fund. Let's call it the January 6th restoration, fund or something like that, so that we can make these people whole. I mean, many of these people spent horrific months and years in the worst conditions possible. They were deprived of their basic rights, deprivation of color of law, deprivation of rights. They didn't have access to due process rights for attorneys. And even when they did, we know that some of the FBI actually infiltrated their own attorneys. I mean, the whole thing was just an absolute disaster, really a stain on America. And hopefully we can right that. So that would be number one. Number two, we've got to take care of these people in Western North Carolina that FEMA just completely abandoned, right? Trump signed in front of the House, move on. I mean, this is the type of behavior that people that hate your country, that only care about the grift, are willing to do. And clearly the grift is over. And now we're finding out where the grift is and how big and large it actually is.
That's absolutely true. Especially when we're talking about us finding our funding our enemies, like these Islamists and these terror groups that continue to come in here and have sleeper cells all over our great United States, just waiting there for the right time, the perfect day that they will attack us and upend us from within, even though now this pushback, this wave of red hardcore MAGA has really put kind of a slowdown on that. But we can't be, thinking for one second that these people aren't at the ready to do these things. A lot of people, I think, because of their anti-war stance, because they're tired and they're fatigued from this. Now, I'm not anti-war. I'm anti-unnecessary war. I don't want us to be going in there nation building. I'm not a nation builder. I'm not a military and complex guy. But I think that if it does come down to it, this is one of the most important things that Trump is doing outside of this country is that Gaza Strip issue, that issue there with these people who cry for a two-state solution when we know that they can't have a two-state solution because by their own belief system, they cannot live peaceably.
You can't negotiate with terrorists. You're absolutely correct. And that's why the two-state solution will never work and can't work and shouldn't work. I mean, look what happened in 2004, 2005 when they upended many of these Jewish settlements that were in that area. Well, I mean, did we get peace after that? No, it just exacerbated the problem even worse. And so the two-state solution is truly not the answer. You know what the answer is? It's eradicating the terrorists. That's what the answer is, and allowing those people to live freely and peacefully in a better future. And that's what we need to concentrate on.
Absolutely. So here in closing, let's go ahead and talk about your book that came out here within the last few months, Preserving Liberty. Tell us a little bit about that so that people can understand what you're doing here and what you're saying and get more information about like what you're saying with us tonight, Josh.
Well, for the folks that are joining us, if you've just heard some of the things that I've said, you can understand why I am one of the more censored people in this country as an investigative journalist. I don't want to go through a long story, but let's just say I was on Amazon Prime. I had a Roku TV show, millions upon millions of views. And before the 2020 election, I was showing what was going to happen 2 weeks later. And from that, and of course, an issue with Ilhan Omar, where I exposed who she was, who her family is, how they were close to terrorists and all that, I lost it all. I basically was ghosted within about a 48-hour period. So I've been living in what I would consider political purgatory, in censorship hell, basically, for 4 years. And so one of the reasons why I wrote this book was to break through that type of censorship. This book is basically about 150 pages. It is the blueprint to make everything that Trump is doing right now permanent, which if you look at the title, it says Bold and Brave Solutions to Save America and Create Permanent Freedom. You know, it's wonderful that President Trump is able to use these executive actions to kind of right the ship, so to speak. But in any other situation, if someone said there was 350 to 400 executive orders in less than a month, I would be pulling out what hair I don't have left. Okay, this is not something we want. I am not a fan of executive orders. I want to turn these permanent gains into these temporary gains into permanent gains. That is one thing that I talk about in this book. It is a textbook. You're going to want to read it with a yellow highlighter in your hand because there are audible gasps that you're going to have to grab your glasses and say, oh my God, is that really what that says? Yes, it is. This was not self-published. This was done by Skyhorse Publishing. So this was traditionally published, meaning that it went through a legal review. Everything is 100% accurate in the book. The great Alan Dershowitz has endorsed the book for its accuracy and constitutionality. Roger Stone, good buddy of mine, has worked for 4 different presidents. He's endorsed the book. And the foreword has been written by a Freedom Caucus sitting member of Congress, Congressman Paul Gosar, another great friend of mine as well. So, folks, you can go to Amazon and pick up a copy of Preserving Liberty, and trust me, you'll be glad that you did.
Yes, sir. I believe that would be a great thing for them to do. Get that textbook, get that guidebook, get that thing so that we so people would have really good talking points. And you would ground them with the talking points and allow them to be able to use social media to their advantage and have the talking points. So again, Josh, how do people find out more about you and where can they follow your work?
Well, my website is jbushow.com, as you can kind of see on top, but it's jbushow.com, stands for Josh Bernstein Uncensored.com. That will also get you there as well. But just recently, in the last month or so, I've been finally kind of just venturing back out onto social media, and I've got about 6,000 plus people on X. So you can go to Real JBU Show, Real JBU Show on X, and you can follow me there. I usually have some pretty interesting things to post throughout the day. A lot of strategy type of stuff. I'm definitely more of a type of strategy type of person. I'll give you an example of one thing that's in this book that you'll never read anywhere else. I don't know if you or your audience knows. Do you know who appoints all 11 judges on the FISA court?
No, I don't.
Okay. John G. Roberts Jr., the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, is responsible for appointing all 11 justices. Now, here's the kicker. This court, the FISA court, has been around since the late 1970s. They have only denied 12, that's right, 12 warrants. They have a 99.9% acceptance rate on spy warrants. And guess what? They have absolutely zero, none whatsoever oversight. Why? Because they don't go through a Senate confirmation to become FISA judges. So one of the things that I talk about in reining in the FISA court section is that a very minimum, why don't we at least take that job away from the Chief Justice and allow the senators to do an advise and consent confirmation process for each one of these judges? Now, quite frankly, I'd like to eliminate the FISA court 100%. I'd like to eliminate the Patriot Act, or the Unpatriot Act, as I like to call it, 100%. But if we can't do that, then we should at least, at a very minimum, know who these judges are and have oversight over them, so that we don't have a shadow court working in concert parallel with the United States Supreme Court, rubber stamping our freedoms away. That's just one example of some of the things that I talk about in preserving liberty.
That sounds great. Well, Dewey, I really appreciate, I'm probably saying not Dewey, Josh, I appreciate you coming on with us tonight. Real fantastic, great information that was put forward.
Well, thank you. Anytime, any topic, and I mean that for sure.
Yes, sir. I really appreciate that. We'll be calling on you soon, Josh, and can't wait to read your book. God bless.